All right, what's good, folks? Jeff London back with another video. Before we jump into the video, folks, do me a favor, hit the like, hit the subscribe button. Before we jump into the video, folks, I have a free 21-day fat loss program. I'm giving it to you for free. I used to sell this program. I mean, maybe over 3,000 people have purchased the program. I'm giving it away for free. All you have to do is email me. My email's below, quickbodysolutions@gmail.com. I'll also put it in the show notes, all right? So, today's video is about building muscle and then the one thing you need to do, the one principle you need to follow in order to build muscle. All right, so you want to watch this all the way to the end because I saved the best for last. And the name of this principle is called the principle of overload, right? And what that is basically that you have to be progressing in your workouts continually, all right? So whether week to week, bi-weekly, every 3 weeks, there has to be some progression, all right? So, and that's where you fall off. That's where I fell off at. For many years, I saw improvement. And in the beginning, you're gonna see improvement because you haven't been working out. But then I just never switched up my workouts. I just wasn't strategic, and then I just hit a downfall. I just stopped responding. My body just stopped changing. And I was just thinking to myself, I was like, damn, man, this is not something, I'm doing something wrong because I should be growing. I'm in here 6 days a week, and it's going on months, and my body's not changing. And then that's how I really got into fitness. I started just reading books, textbooks. I got a bunch of certifications. So I came across this principle of overload. And what that is basically, you can overload in about 5 different fashions, right? So you can increase your reps each week. You can increase your sets each week. You could increase the weight. You can increase the time that you rest or decrease the time that you rest. And then you could increase the frequency of your workouts. And I'm gonna go through each of these just quickly, all right? Because I could talk about this for a long time. This is a long conversation. But for example, week 1, you're doing squats and bench press, right? And you do 10 repetitions. All right, a progressive overload is the following week, you'll do 12 repetitions, all right, or even 11. All right, so that's how you overload with reps. All right, now how you overload with sets is week 1, you did 3 sets of 10, all right, on your squat. And then week 2, you'll do 4 sets of 10. And then week 3, you'll do 5 sets of 10. All right, so that's another way you could overload. Another way you could overload is with weight. All right, so let's say week 1, you're lifting 200 pounds, and then week 2, you go up to 210. All right, so you're progressively overloading. Another way you could overload is with time, right? So your rest intervals play a really big part in this. So a rest interval meaning that you did your first set, you did 10 reps on the bench press, and then you rested for 5 minutes, and then you did another 10. But if you manipulate your rest period, so after my first set of 10, let's say I rested 90 seconds, that is more time under tension. I'm putting that muscle through more stress, which will lead to building more muscle, essentially, if you do it strategically. So you can manipulate your time rest intervals, right? And then the last thing you could do is just increase the amount of days you're working out in general. So you could start off with 2 days a week, progress to 3, progress to 4, so on and so forth. So you want to manipulate those factors, and that's how you'll build muscle. Now, caveat, like I said, it's a big conversation. You can't do all this at once. You don't want to progress too quickly because you will get injured, right? And 2, it's not realistic for you to increase the weight every week, right? Like there's going to be a point in time where you don't have enough strength and you're not going to be able to continue to lift weights. So continue to lift a weight enough to build muscle, right? Because the amount of repetitions and sets plays a big part in this. And I'm going to link to a description about that because that's an important conversation. So that's when you have to get creative and you got to say, hey, well, you know what? This week I'm struggling to get this weight up. So what I'm going to do is I can't get any more than 10 repetitions. So what I'm going to do is add an extra set. All right. And then you'll progressively overload that way. And then you'll hit a point where you can't do any more, right? You can't increase your sets or your reps. So maybe then you'll manipulate your rest periods, right? It gets really, you could go deep in the weeds in this, but that's what I want to leave you with today. Make sure, doesn't matter what workout you're doing, but progress it. So whether you're doing circuit training or if you're doing push-ups or air squats, you want to make sure your next workout, and it doesn't have to be every week either. It could be every 2 weeks, but if you want to make it every week, that's fine. But I recommend, manipulating your weights and manipulating one of these variables, every week every 2 weeks, every week actually. All right, every week you want to manipulate these variables. So even if you're doing like calisthenics, you're doing push-ups, squats, jump lunges, the following week, try to manipulate one of these variables so you progressively overload. All right, and if you don't do that, you will plateau. That's a fact. All right, hopefully that was helpful, folks. If it was, do me a favor, hit that like, hit that subscribe button. Peace.